Get to go live.
Awesome.
Yay.
Okay. Let me do something really quick.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Ah, there it is.
Congratulations. This
Thank
looks
you.
so cute. I loved
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, I'm not sure if anyone's watching it, but do you want to go ahead and start by introducing yourself?
Sure. So I am Shellyflowers. I am the host of Shellyflowers Reads and Writes, where I'm like doing my intro now, where I talk about all things related to reading and writing. Mostly reading, but I'm like learning the AuthorTube game a little bit now. So I have some fun stuff planned for NaNoWriMo. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. Yeah, your videos are so much fun. I love
Thank you.
watching them. And I know this is on my channel, but I'm Kaye Spivey, poet and writer. And I'm probably not going to post a lot during NaNoWriMo, but I will have a vlog at the end of it for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yay. So, we've read The Haunting of Hill House.
We did it.
Yeah. And I really liked it.
So did I.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think we both talked about it in our vlogs, it was really, like, easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just not the case.
Like, shocked. I remember reading it and then getting through 50 pages super fast. And I was like, wait a second. Normally books written from that time period are really difficult to get through. So I was just so surprised at like her voice. And I mean, we'll probably get into this later, but I just feel like that explains maybe why she wasn't taken as seriously when she was alive.
I was thinking, yeah, because a lot of like gothic horror have those like super long sentences and they like drag you through the atmosphere, like Edgar Allan Poe or Dracula.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so easy to read, and yeah, you're right, it probably is why it wasn't taken as seriously, but also why it's become popular again, because it's just such an easy reading. Like it read contemporary to me.
Yeah,
it was so simple to get through.
Same. And it's interesting because I feel like Dracula is an example of a book that is kind of considered timeless, but I really feel like The Haunting of Hill House is timeless because even though it was written in the 50s, I could picture people nowadays doing that same exact thing.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Dracula, it read dated to me when I was reading it. Yeah, it was so hard. That one was terrible to read through.
So funny. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah, and I wonder, I was thinking about whether or not it's partly just like the feminine perspective too, because it definitely had that. I mean, for once the characters are like 50-50 split, like at all times you have equal men and women, which is also unusual in the genre where you normally have like one woman and she's probably either crazy or dies, but
right.
Yeah.
But yeah. I like don't want to give spoilers, but that made me laugh.
I know. Yeah, should we just say we're definitely going to spoil the book?
Yes.
If anyone hasn't read it, okay.
Now. Yes. If anybody comes in late, that's your fault.
Yeah, if you haven't read it and you're coming in, it's going to get spoiled because there's too much to talk about. We can't really we can't not talk about the ending.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't know. How do we want to start? Do we want to start with first our enjoyment of it and then go into techniques she was doing as an author, or
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So you talked about this a lot in your blog, but you talked about how she has this very whimsical quality to her work that then over time shifts into this very creepy atmospheric situation. And as I was reading it, I think it's working on so many different levels. I definitely viewed it as a metaphor for mental illness, even though so many I've read articles where she's talked about, no, this is actually a literal haunting. I don't know. To me, I think you could still make the argument that there's discussion around mental illness happening there, and also possession, which I don't think any adaptation I've seen of it has really gone that route.
No, and I just watched The Haunting, the 1999 version last night because you talked about it in yours, so I watched it to make sure.
Yeah.
And that one was it was close until it branched away, and then it went just a
Off the
totally
rails.
different direction too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think like I don't even know how she did it because she had very clear word choice, but I
Mhm.
think a lot of it was her setting and her dialogue was really what created
Yes.
this atmosphere.
Yeah, just super whimsical dialogue, and especially the lines that were taken for the Netflix adaptation where they took it just word for paragraphs. It was so beautiful, but also like she's talking about a cup of stars. Like that's such a beautiful idea, but it's not something you'd find in a gothic. Like they're very like fun, funny things. Like she's talking about she wants to have an apartment with the little lions on the shelf, and just the things she focuses on are so like silly.
Right.
And yeah, maybe that's part of what makes it feel more contemporary too, is because it would have been silly for the genre, but that you cling to that sort of all the way through. And yeah.
I agree. And I think too, like you talked about this, how it's also just like a lot of gay people together without saying that they're gay.
Oh my gosh. Well, and they say that Luke is, like directly, they say Luke is gay. And I was just
Yeah.
like, whoa, for the 1950s, for a
Right.
woman to be writing. And then there's Theo is so queer coded.
Right.
I mean, and the 1999 version just went out and made her bisexual.
Right.
But then Eleanor also is very queer coded, is very interested in Theo.
Right.
That's kind of crazy for the 1950s, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. And like, I mean, also knowing about Shirley Jackson's background, there's been so much speculation about her own sexuality. And even though she was married to a man and like had children and everything, I think.
Yeah, but like, so was Adrienne Rich. So were a lot of women at that time. You just
Right.
got married to a man. That's just how it
They
happened.
did
so.
it. So yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like Eleanor could be a stand-in for Shirley Jackson and just very saying a lot without being able to say exactly what she wants to say. So
Oh yeah. I don't know a lot about her. I didn't research like her background too much, but that makes a lot of sense.
There's also a movie on Hulu, I think it is, that's basically about Shirley Jackson's life.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, so I would definitely suggest, and it's with Elizabeth Moss from
okay.
if you're into that. So
oh great. Yeah. I've been just churning through the adaptations.
Yeah.
Well, and then do you, just to get into like the real question, do you think Eleanor was causing the haunting, or do you think the house was causing the haunting from the supernatural perspective? Because I also think there's a lot of adaptations where it's in her head, but they talked about like the rocks when she was a child, and then the knocking on the walls was all things that were very much tied to her mother. But then you also have the sense that the house is the one that's crazy. And of course, The Haunting of Hill House really made it be the house for the Netflix adaptation. But when I got to the end of it, I wondered if everything was Eleanor.
Yeah.
And so I want to know what your thought about that.
So the reason why I said possession was because I feel like that's what happened. I feel like it was the house at first, and the house is like trying to scare her, get her out of her element, and then eventually she like embodies the house.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The spirits of the house go in her, and that's why at the very end of the book she's like, and I'm doing it, but why am I doing it? You know, she kind of like has that moment of clarity right before she hits the tree.
She hits the tree. That was incredible. Okay, so leading up to it, like everyone always has the hanging from the spiral staircase, and it's always in like every adaptation the spiral staircase exists. And so I was ready for her to hang herself in that room. I was like waiting for it, and it almost happened. Like twice it almost happened, and I was so ready for her to like find a way to like sneak back into the house. And no, she hit the tree, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Somehow still surprised. I think it was just my preconceived notions of what happens in the other adaptations, but her hitting the tree was just so surprising at the end. I didn't see it coming somehow, even though she clearly led us that way. Especially at the beginning, she had talked about like the gate and the trees were all very focused on. So you could have predicted it, I think, if you'd have known to look for that. But
I didn't see it coming either. And like I've seen all the adaptations before I finished the book, and I was just like, this was not an ending that I saw coming at all.
Right? It was incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you do that as author, like completely redirect us in that way.
Well, like, so I have the book here. I'm gonna check
Yeah.
my evidence, right? I
Oh,
feel like I'm in class. But
okay,
I
I
feel
have my
like
notes
there's
from when I was reading it.
like from 176 on, I just feel like there's this constant stream of dialogue. So it's almost like when
Oh
you're
yeah.
around people, you're talking, you're just getting distracted, and then something comes out of nowhere.
Uh-huh.
And
You're right, it is just constant dialogue.
I have never read a book like this where the dialogue, one, sounds so natural and fluid, and then two, is like its own plot device, which is really strange. You know, like I know authors oftentimes use dialogue as a way to like get people understanding the characters and make conflict happen, but this was like the dialogue here was almost like a misdirection.
Which they set up really early, where everyone is clearly telling lies about themselves, and you know that they're all lies. And then as you kind of go through, people start, maybe they're telling the truth, but Eleanor sort of sticks to the lies also. That was so interesting how she was able to be like, no, everyone is lying. They're all in on the joke. It's all for fun. And it added to the whimsy, but it also kind of maybe set the seed for the creepiness.
Because then it's also like, I remember one part where Dr. Montague had been off by himself, and then he comes back with the group, and he just kept repeating like, my imagination's getting away from me, my imagination's getting, and so it's like this thing where the characters are also lying to themselves while lying to each other.
Yes.
It's just
Yeah, and there's always a sense of like, yes, we all saw whatever had just happened, but oh, it didn't happen. We're all in on the it didn't happen, right? Nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Just constantly. Yeah. I also really liked that they said that the house was built incorrectly, and that's not really in any adaptation, that the slight difference in the angles causing the kind of unbalance. That was really interesting.
Yeah. It's yeah, I agree. And it's not ever really mentioned. People always talk about how ornate the house is and how like intricate and how there's all these different rooms and stuff, but I do wonder why that's something that no director's ever chosen to put into a movie.
Right, because it's such a unique thing to have built a house incorrectly so that somehow it's wrapping around. And I know you probably can't find a house to shoot in that would work that way, but I'm sure you could use camera tricks to portray that, because it added an extra level of doubt as to whether or not the house actually was haunted at all, or if it really was just like all in Eleanor's head or all Eleanor.
Because didn't they also say that like they felt like that was the reason doors would randomly close, or like windows would shoot open and stuff like that?
Yeah, they couldn't keep any doors or windows closed, which is really interesting. And then the 1999 version, they couldn't keep any of them shut, and I was just like, wait a second.
Yes, I agree. I think it's that, and then also the doctor's wife is never brought up in any adaptations. She's such a weird character.
She throws a huge curveball, because we've kind of gotten into almost a pattern with everybody, and she comes in just like breaking the tension in the group, like ruining everything and being kind of insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she
doesn't
hear the hauntings.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, she doesn't hear the hauntings. She wants to like, what is the planchette?
Yeah.
Or however you pronounce that. Yeah.
Whatever that is.
She also sort of reveals that some of the things that we'd all kind of established had happened maybe hadn't happened, because it's after she comes in that Theo's room is normal again, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
I think so.
See, but then I read that as like the house got a new element, so it's fixing itself.
Oh, I like that. That's really good.
But I guess you have to view it as like this is an actual haunting story. You know,
that's true.
So, but yeah, I just found her character. To me, I felt like she was naming everything that everybody was experiencing, but taking it at face value, whereas everybody else was like, "No, this isn't real. Just kidding. We're all just faking this."
Yeah, that's true. Kind of forcing us to establish what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I liked her. She's so weird. And just like way at the end, she just comes in, and then it almost feels like she doesn't do anything, even though she's completely changed the tone of the story and really set everything for the finale into motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's almost like a Cassandra type of character. Like,
Mm.
hey guys, Rome is burning. Let's I mixed so many illusions there. Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, she really is. Yeah. She was a little bit strange and confusing coming in like that, but
Mm-hmm. I agree.
yeah.
I just feel like, I don't know. Were there any characters that you didn't like that you just felt?
You know, in almost every adaptation, there's always like that character I hate. But in this, I didn't hate anybody for very long. Like, there were always moments where you're like, oh, Theo's being such a bitch. Or where Luke is kind of being unreasonable or something. Or Dr. Montague is not really being helpful. Or, like, I didn't really like Mrs. Montague at first. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Somehow, they're all kind of charming in their own way. And they all kind of care about each other, at least to some extent. So, no, I didn't hate it. I found everyone, like, kind of weirdly delightful.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sort of that whimsical quality. Like, even Mrs. Dudley,
Mm-hmm.
she's so weird and she keeps repeating herself.
Yeah.
But it's kind of spooky and charming.
Yeah.
And then she's talking normally to Mrs. Montague at one point, where Eleanor is kind of almost being a ghost, where she's sort of floating around watching everybody by herself.
Yeah.
People are just talking normally, and it's not about her, and that was very interesting. But yeah, did you have anyone you didn't like?
No, I kind of felt the same way about you. Whereas I feel like in the adaptations, I forget the names. So like in the 1999 movie, Theo was always that character that kind of got on my nerves because I'm just like, I don't understand the purpose you're serving here.
Oh, really?
But then in the book,
but she was
like,
Catherine Zeta-Jones also, so it was like, all right, you're fair.
I don't know if you're acting or if you're just.
Oh my gosh. My radio just came on.
Oh, it's a ghost.
Sorry. Right? Maybe.
That's so funny. But yeah, no, I liked the characters in the book a lot. I feel like I can't remember which character it was in the TV show. Mm-hmm. The one that was wearing their gloves all the time.
Oh, Theo. That was Theo.
So it's always Theo.
Because she's always just a little bit standoffish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tend to like my characters to be much more direct and clear, which I think is what I loved about this. Was like in the book, every character, cards on the table. That's also like a big difference, I think, between at least the 1999 movie, whereas Dr. Montague tells everybody, hey, I think this house is haunted. Let's check it out. And in the movie, he's like, oh, you have trouble sleeping? Come check out my sleep study.
Right. This haunted, that was the most gorgeous house I've ever seen, though. I was almost distracted because I've never seen a house as insanely ornate as the one they used in that version. I was like looking it up, being like, do they give tours? Like,
wait, is it a real house or was it?
It's like a manor in East England.
What?
I know. It's so gorgeous. I think they put in some of the rooms that aren't actually in the house, but oh my gosh, as soon as they got up to it, I was just like Googling, trying to see how I could get there.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
That one was gorgeous.
Oh my god, if we're ever allowed to travel again, I'm gonna have to check it.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Well, the one, did you ever watch Rose Red?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which was Stephen King just blatantly ripping this off.
Right.
But that house is up here near Seattle. They don't give tours. You have to like pay to stay the night, but I'm thinking about it because that's really
that.
Cool. Right? Yeah, come visit. Come stay at Rose Red.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, Rose Red. So Stephen King, when did he write Rose Red?
It was much later. Well, and he wrote maybe almost like the Diary of Eleanor, and it was a little bit different. But when they did the adaptation, they just straight up, I mean, he famously plagiarized it.
Wow, that's crazy. I've never been.
But she wasn't well known at the time, and he was very well known when he plagiarized it. So,
which is just crazy because, like, I've never been the biggest fan of Stephen King because of his writing style. Mm-hmm. And then to read
Talk about hard to get through.
Yeah, I read Carrie, and I think that's it. Oh, and On Writing, because I had to read On Writing in high school.
I read that too. Yeah, I had to read it twice though because I even his just like talking to you voice, I didn't really like it that much, and I had read other ones I liked more. So I had
Yeah.
to read it again, and it was helpful, but it was like, yeah, I'm not the
Okay.
biggest fan of his writing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just feel like books like this, I've never really read anything like this, and
Yeah.
I don't know that people would really write this way anymore. Because I think the other interesting thing with this is that as fast as it is to read, it's still a very slow burn.
It is. I think I wrote, is it chapter 5 was the first time that you get, oh no, chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the first time you get anything really truly scary. That's the first night that it's scary. And that's a long way in for a horror novel, I think. I don't read a ton of horror,
Right.
but yeah, and it's not terribly consequential. I She's the only one who dies in it,
Mm-hmm.
which
That's
that's
a very
unusual for
rare.
horror, I think also. Yeah, for gothic horror.
I think, so the versions we have are 180 pages. Considering 40 pages in is the first time stuff gets creepy, that's a
Mm-hmm.
long time. If the book was 300 pages, that would make more sense. And so I think it just speaks to
Oh,
like
true.
how important atmosphere is to Shirley Jackson as a writer, and really like character and atmosphere. Which, when I think about horror, those are the most important things. I want to be able to root for someone, but at the same time, I want to be creeped out by everything going on.
Yeah. And she doesn't focus on, like, when Edgar Allan Poe focuses on atmosphere, he's describing like the exact layout of the place and like just going into every single detail, but she's describing how people feel,
Right.
like all of the atmospheres in their feelings. And I'd never read a book that focused that way. Like there's no character descriptions. She doesn't tell you what anybody really looks like. I mean, I was pretty far in where I was like, I have absolutely no clue what Luke looks like at all, but I know him and understand him just because of the way they've been talking. And I don't know if you'd get away with writing a book that way with just really honestly almost no character descriptions. I think Dr. Montague might have a brief
Mm-hmm.
facial description, but otherwise everything is about how Eleanor feels about things or how people are reacting to things in the house.
It's interesting because I feel like, not that I'm comparing these two books by any means, but I am comparing the technique. I feel like people say the same thing about Twilight in terms of.
Oh, yes, actually, you're right
I'm
though.
thinking of these characters as very like bland because they're self inserts. And so I'm
Hmm.
wondering if that was an intentional thing from Shirley Jackson,
Hmm.
or if it is just her focus as a writer has never been like, looking at characters. I don't know. I've only read The Lottery and this.
Okay.
And so I probably need to go and read some of her other work and see if that's like a technique she does a lot, or if it's just specifically for this book.
Yeah, I've only ever read this one, but I know people have been talking though of one, We've Always Lived in the Castle, I believe is what it's called.
Oh, I've
Is
never
one
heard of
of her other ones. I believe that's what it's called. I'll look it up really quick though.
that. Okay.
But that's another one that's supposed to have kind of a similar atmosphere. But yeah, I wonder if she does the same thing. You don't really get the character descriptions. It's all very based on feeling.
Yeah.
But
I
it is
know.
interesting you mentioned Twilight with that, because yeah, like, but what about it is it that it's not really a detraction in this one? But I guess while I was reading Twilight, it didn't detract from it either.
Yeah.
Like Twilight, I loved it while I was reading it and got to the end and was like, what in the world did I just read? Like I didn't
Right.
like I did enjoy it while I was reading it though, but this one I still enjoyed afterwards.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's also like, I don't know either, because another criticism of Bella as a character is that she doesn't have a lot of agency, but you
Hmm.
could argue that Eleanor in this book doesn't either. I
It's
don't.
true. Everything is sort of decided. Well, except that she then her one big thing is that she decided to take the car.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Ooh, and actually, what is with the cheesecake woman? What were your thoughts on her? I had almost forgotten about her. She bumps into her at the very beginning when she's going to get she's going to get the car,
Oh
and she
yeah,
drops that cheesecake.
that's
I don't know what
weird.
she's supposed to represent. I just didn't remember her until just now.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, do you remember what page that was on? I need to
That
look.
was very early. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh.
It was in that first chapter confused me because
Mm-hmm.
of it kind of being broken into like mini chapters.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, it's got to be in the third or fourth part here. Nope, I've gone too far. It is in the third part of the first chapter, and it happens... No. Yep, it looks like page 8.
Okay. Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she just bumps into her, offers to pay for the cheesecake for her, but mostly just gets her a cab home.
Yeah.
Because of how short the book is, it feels like that can't be something that was not important, but it's also something that felt so inconsequential compared to everything else.
I don't remember reading this, but now I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, why would she put this in here?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if this is like, I mean, I always worry that maybe I go too far with my analysis sometimes, but it feels a little bit like her break from her regular life. Like literally, it's just like, because then when she gets in the taxi, she's so strange because the taxi driver says, all right, sweetheart, where do we go? And she's like, I'll tell you after we start. That's such a weird thing to say. And so I wonder if it's just her realizing that she just has no place in the regular world. She can't function. She's been isolated for so long with her mom. And then when she tries to go and do regular things, she can't. I don't know. And then I also felt like once she actually gets to the house and she thinks she's found a place, I definitely got the vibes that she was almost jealous of Luke and Theo's friendship and maybe misinterpreted it as a romantic thing when it clearly wasn't that.
Yeah.
Because she kept
I think Theo plays that up early too, that, oh, Luke has a crush on you, even though there's no indication whatsoever.
Yeah. And then I feel like maybe that's also where she like, because I think it's after the walk that they take to the pond or something, right?
Definitely. That to me felt like the no going back point.
Yeah.
As soon as she's abandoned by them.
That's when she starts hearing the voices, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, I think is when, she, like you said, she starts acting like the ghost and doing all this crazy stuff around the house, and you're like, oh.
Right? You're like, why are you going off by yourself suddenly? Yeah, definitely. That felt like there were other moments where it almost felt like this was the no going back point, but that one for me was like, there's no turning back at this point. Now she is going to stay with the house some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they also, it seemed like, because they abandoned her to like walk further, that they were not going to stay at the house. It felt like that was very established, that like they're outside of whatever is happening to Eleanor right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Which is, it's just very, I don't know, it's very strange the way it's done, but it's done so well. So I think again, it's like subtle, I think is the best way to describe Shirley Jackson. Whereas other horror writers are just so in your face about stuff. She is so indirect, and it's like masterful the way that it's done.
It is. It adds an extra creepy vibe, especially you're not just anticipating the next massive gruesome murder. Like there's no crazy murders going on. It's just like a few little things that just kind of raise the tension slowly over time and just creep you out just enough.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was so good.
I agree.
If I had any more notes, we kind of just went over like everything.
I know.
Oh wait, those are my reading notes. Where are my question notes? Yeah, we pretty much hit all of my main points. It's awesome. Pretty good. Do you have any other things that you felt were like really interesting about it? Or it was such a short book, and we both enjoyed it, so it's like, yay.
Yeah. I don't know. It does make me think about I don't know, because I'm working on my first novel right now, and it's just
Yay.
it's like such a slog, and I'm like, ugh. But I do think, just looking at this from the perspective of a writer, I don't know, this might be like, I don't want this to be like an AuthorTube critique, but I do notice a lot of videos on AuthorTube focus so much on get a really exciting plot and get really like strong static characters. And then you read something like this where you're like, honestly, nothing really happens in this book until the last like 20 or so pages.
Yeah.
And it's still so well done. So I don't know. That's just something for me to think about, is like, what is the story that I want to tell, and what is the way that it's going to be true for me. So that way it does kind of stand out to compared to like things that other people might be trying to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and yeah, this doesn't. Ooh, you disappeared. Oh, okay, you're still here. Okay, good. But you're right. People talk about like everyone's interested in the save the cat method, and I haven't actually studied it or gone into it, but I suspect that novels like this don't really fit that format exactly. And so, yeah, I feel like when you read something that is more unique, it's like, why is everyone trying to fit into this really specific structure? And then there's also the fact that like the Western structure of writing is nothing like other structures. Like I read Haruki Murakami. That's not even remotely something that would be. It's not the same plot arc that you use in Western style at all. And so yeah, what is the, especially in AuthorTube, the like strong focus on doing things a very specific way, and yeah, that's pretty commercial and it's pretty consumable, but it's not really long lasting.
Right.
Like something like this that reads like it could have been written today but was written so long ago, like you're not going to get that from, I don't know, Twilight was the first example, but Twilight I guess has remained popular at least right now. So
right. Yeah, no, I agree. And I wonder, like, it's this weird time where it's like access to this type of information is so accessible right now. But at the same time, the desire for experimentation isn't really there. I wonder if maybe we're due as like a literary community for another wave of more experimental fiction taking place. I know like anthologies and short story collections are becoming more popular now. So I wonder if maybe that is going to be part of it. It's just like this trickle of, okay, we're kind of done with the save the cat, you know, straightforward narrative. What else can we do?
Right? And especially short stories really allow you to do a bit more of that experimentation just because there's less to work with, so you can make it a little bit more exciting. But yeah, there's definitely, it feels like we're ready for like a renaissance.
Yeah.
And a different feeling. And we're getting that a little bit with just representation. But then I feel like along with representation comes these different styles of writing that aren't just, you know, like the normal Hollywood style.
Yeah, I agree. And even thinking about that, like I've read a few books recently, and it's also, sorry, that's my dog. Roxy. Roxy.
Hi, Roxy.
She's just like laying down on the floor, barking at the door because someone walked out of their apartment.
Oh.
She's so protective, but I'm also like, chill, girl.
That's cute, though.
Okay, I think she's good. But yeah, I've been thinking a lot about perspective in books and how much that influences how much I enjoy a book, which I'm kind of surprised at because it's not something I've cared about before. But books that have a first-person narrator that then jump to multiple point of views, like each chapter is a different narrator, I'm finding I tend to like a lot less than books with that third-person omniscient perspective. And I don't know why that is. I gotta think about that.
I don't know, but I was thinking about, because for NaNoWriMo I was deciding whether to write in first or third person, but yeah, most of the narratives that I enjoy are third person, especially if you're going to be jumping around perspectives. But then jumping from first person perspectives is kind of difficult, but I did used to read more of those when I was younger, so is it just like a taste changing with age thing?
Yeah.
Because maybe more middle grade and young adult does tend to be first person, but Not a lot of the ones that I've read.
Yeah. Yeah, I finished The Cemetery Boys earlier this month.
I just started it. It's
Oh,
so good.
it's
Oh
so
my
good.
gosh, I love it. I'm only 4 chapters in, but I
Yeah.
love it so far.
And that's like an example of a book to me where it is YA, but I think it's a little bit older YA. And it has that third person narrator. Whereas right before that, I read Kindred by Octavia Butler, which was phenomenal. And that had a first person narrator, but it stuck to one character.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that, I read A Song Below Water, which had two different narrators, both of them first person perspective. And it was really hard for me to get through A Song Below Water. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about the third person narrator and why it just helps me get into the story more.
Yeah, it almost feels more like you're watching a movie play out or something, I guess. Yeah. So with the first person, sometimes I feel like, why are we being so stupid? Like, 'cause I'm in your head, why are we being dumb? But whereas if you're just watching it, you're like, okay, I see why they made that decision. At least for me, I always feel like I critique them more when we're in first person, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's all my thoughts on this book. I really loved it, and I need to put more of Shirley Jackson's work into my never-ending TBR pile.
Me too. Yes. The book that the one I mentioned earlier was We Have Always Lived in the Castle. It was. So I'm going to put that on my list because I saw a couple people. I don't know if you ever watched Jen Campbell, but she had mentioned that previously, and it had sort of been on my radar, but I hadn't connected that being Shirley Jackson as the same Shirley Jackson. And so then when I was looking through a list of books she had read, I was like, So I think I'm going to put that one on as well because I believe she had mentioned that there's a queer character in that as well. So I'm interested to see if that's just a Shirley Jackson thing, which would be, it could also be why she wasn't very popular in her time period if she's writing a whole bunch of queer characters.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's a poet that I follow who was actually reading The Haunting at the same time we were reading it.
Really?
It's Melissa Losado Oliva. And
okay, look her up.
Let me see. I think I have her book. Here it is. This is her book, Peluda. And she's it's like through button poetry, so she's like out there. But yeah, she's the one who made me like help me click that this idea of like all these queer coded characters, because she like basically took a whole paragraph of Eleanor and Theo talking, and she's like, just be gay, bro, what's going on?
Nice.
I was like, oh my god.
It is though. Like, yeah. I'm like, this is a little beyond a friendship right here. Like, this is just lesbians going on. Hope you went dark again.
It definitely made me laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, why am I still paused?
You went dark. What happened?
Camera? No?
Oh.
Nothing?
No?
Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I don't know.
It's just a visual.
Very strange.
Well, it is. Well, I guess we were kind of wrapping up anyway, so.
Yeah. Cool.
But anyway, highly recommend. 10 out of 10 stars. I just really liked it. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes. Thank you so much for doing the buddy reading.
Of course. We should do another
one. Really fun. Yeah. Oh, I put the banner. There we go.
Just in time, right at the end.
I know. I forgot to put it earlier. I should have done that. But yeah. We should definitely do another one. We should do something poetry related.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look into some poetry books. We'll message each other. We'll figure something out.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was really fun.
It was. All right. I guess I'll go ahead. I'll end the broadcast. Thank you. Anyone watching later, it looks like nobody tuned in, but.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.